Good. There's some people coming in here too, right? We're live in the community. Doctor here, Ed here. Oh my God. Gene wrong. Hello, guys, and so warm welcome here from Texas from 22 degrees. I learned today we have people on this call. It's much colder there than here. Hey, Ed. Hey, Gene. Hey, Mario. Hey, Vanessa. Be like Ed, Gene, Mario, and Vanessa, or like Ligia and Mike, of course, and switch on your camera. Then we have the feeling to talk to real people here, not just like to blank cameras, right? I love that. And a warm welcome to our weekly Q&A call here in the Land Pilot community. I hope you guys are doing well. Had a phenomenal start into the year. Be like Glenn too, right? Glenn switched his camera on, and I know Glenn is part of our comms call. I've seen him this morning already with his camera on. So if you ever want to join one of these, check it out on thelandpilot.com. Um, we have a really exciting session today because I had the pleasure to be interviewed by Ligia and Mike Deaton a while back for their Cash Flow Fight Club podcast, which I would listen in if I would be you because it's a really great podcast. Um, Ligia and Mike are living in Colorado Springs. I learned they had minus 15 degrees in the past couple of days, right? Like, so let's send them some warm soup or whatever after this call, right? That they can heat up. They're land investors for 10 years, so you're almost OGs, right? You're in multifamily, pretty diversified. I know that cash flow is like your big purpose in life, and you coach land investors too. And I was like so happy to have you on board. Welcome, and hello. Tell us a little bit more about yourself, who you are, what you do, and let's take it from there.
Right on. Well, yeah, thanks for having us on your show. We certainly enjoyed recording your episode. I you're one of our favorite client types and networking types. Just an action taker, a go-getter. Don't let any obstacles get in your way. That's really the success in the land business. But yeah, Lidge and I, a brief story. We both really well, I won't speak for you because I Ligia comes from Romania, by the way. So she has a very different upbringing than I do. But I followed what I thought was the great American path, right? You go to school, get a degree, get out of job, get a W-2, or get out of school, get a W-2 job, and climb the ladder and feed the 401k. And I moved to Romania for an assignment in 2006, which is where we met. We were working for Nokia mobile phones at the time, both of us, and we had like this instantaneous connection and office place romance for several years. And yeah, we came back to the US in, I don't know, 2010, 2011 timeframe, Dallas, Fort Worth, kept grinding away. And in 2016, we both got let go from our jobs. So Lygia was in healthcare. The the office was moving. They were consolidating to their corporate headquarters, which is in Fort Smith, Arkansas. Microsoft was kind of doing the same thing. I was in operations roles, and they had a really small office in Dallas, and they were, I had outsourced everything, and we were shutting down that, and I didn't want to move to Washington. And yeah, we found ourselves out of a job. And for us at the time, our jobs were our only paycheck. Like, that was the income. We had no cash flowing assets. We had nothing on the side. I had been thinking about it for a year or two before that. Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad Poor Dad, re-triggered this awakening that, hey, we ought to, look at cash flowing assets, maybe real estate, other things. And started listening to a lot of podcasts. I'm a runner, so when I go out for a run, I like to put in a podcast and listen to some ideas. Side hustles, Side Hustle Nation. Pat Flynn back then was a big smart passive income. I can't remember what podcast I heard, but on two different podcasts I'd heard about land flipping, and it just sounded almost too good to be true. Great. But in that moment, we decided rather than just jump right back into a corporate hamster wheel, we'd give something different a try. Some things lined up for us at that time. We have two older daughters, or I do, from a previous marriage, and they were at a point where they were off to college in a matter of months or maybe a year. I already had some stuff set aside for that, and so that was a little more um, security for me, knowing that okay, that's taken care of. Lygia is um, much more risk tolerant than I am, I think. Like she comes from a different background where you just, she grew up in communist dictatorship and life was a lot different. So just a different mindset, but very supportive in that way. Anyway, the ability, I would say, we had some money in the bank. I got a severance from Microsoft. Some things lined up that allowed us to say, let's say it allowed me to feel comfortable pivoting out of a W-2 life. And so, yeah, we joined Mark Podolsky's Land Geek program, went to a boot camp, got some coaching, started our business, and we gave ourselves some seed money. We said, okay, let's put some money aside just to start the business. We set a timeline. We said we'll give ourselves 12 months. If this isn't bearing any fruit in 12 months, then we'll find something else to do. We might have to live on a camper on one of our properties or something. But we set ourselves a parameter and went about growing a business. And I appreciate Mark's program and training. It was very solid on nuts and bolts of basic land flipping. There were other aspects that I think we wished we'd had, but we leaned on each other for mindset, how to be entrepreneurs. We were never been entrepreneurs and scaling the business at the time and things like that. But yeah, I think it took us about 6 months to really go end to end where we bought some properties and the first sale for us took a bit of time. But once we cracked the seal on that first sale, then, things really started accelerating and taking off for us. And we've been blessed. We've scaled our land business. It's 90% of our income today. It's given us a life. I think we had a 10-year plan at the time that we wanted to live in the mountains. We, narrated our beautiful day, what a perfect day looks like. And, um, we're here in half the time, I would say. Just, we live in the mountains, Rocky Mountains. We're at about 10,000 feet elevation. We have, deer, turkey trails,
And bears.
occasional
And
bears.
bears.
That's
You
Lygia's
don't you
pain.
don't mind
Lygia's
you
pain
don't mean
point is
Mike by that,
bears.
right?
Lygia's pain point is bears. Yeah, it's anytime I go out for a run, it's take the bear spray, take whatever. But anyway, it's been great to us. There's certainly been ups and downs. As with any business, there's challenges. Like you mentioned, we diversified into multifamily. We love this extra income. It's a little more of a longer term play. We get tremendous tax benefits from commercial real estate. We can talk about that, but like as business owners, I was in operations for decades. A dollar saved on the bottom line is worth more than a dollar generated on the top line because of taxes and overhead and all that stuff, right? If you earn a dollar, you're really only making 50 cents or something. And so, paying no taxes, we've paid no taxes for the last, I don't know, 3-ish plus years, maybe 4 years now. It's just, it's great. Because land, that's one of the disadvantages to land is it's the way this business is done is it's taxed at capital gains rates a lot of times. And so being able to offset that as much as we can or totally is really a tremendous wealth builder. But we do a little bit of that. And then over the years, we've had a lot of people ask us what the heck we do. How do we enjoy the lifestyle we do? And it got to be enough people asking that we considered putting our land coaching program together. And we thought about it for quite a while and how we would differentiate ourselves from the other programs that are out there. And we decided to do one that's a lot smaller. It's very hands-on. We coach people one-on-one. We try to be very flexible because land is so flexible. I mean, there's so many ways that you can do land. You can buy and sell just flat 1 acre parcels. You can wholesale market. You can sell on cash. You can sell on terms. you can then go value add from there. You horizontally develop, subdivide, vertically develop. There's all these different strategies, and so we really like to marry all the different flexibility options to people's individual goals and offer them some mindset like what we kind of crave. So, nutshell story, a quick overview. We can pull on any thread we want to, but that's I don't know if you'd add anything in there, but that's
Now,
kind of
what I wanted to add is that when we started the land business, we gave ourselves a year, but within that year, we realized that we love this lifestyle so much. The freedom of time, the freedom of schedule, the our relationship has improved so much that we realized we have got to do this. We have got to make this work. No matter what, we burn the boats. It's like we're gonna be successful. So that was the mindset that we took on that first year. Like we are not looking back, and it's been very, very rewarding.
I love that. And I have so many questions right now, right? Like with
awesome.
questions too, right? But I have a bunch. Like, let me first, right? Um, I mean, what I love about your story is really that you come out of corporate, right? You get like, let's call it dumped, right? Like, hey,
Sure.
here's it was nice all the work you did for the last 15 years, right? Bye bye. That's it with the nice salary and all the nice benefits and probably the car and the phone and the laptop and all that. And you're standing there and you had a clear plan. This is what I like about that. Hey, we give us 12 months of time and maybe we can talk about another thing. You gave yourself a budget. Now, what I like, let's talk a little bit about that, right? Like what I don't like in the land space is that everybody says, hey, you can start this business with $0 and no commitment, right? Let's talk a little bit about that. You came out of corporate, you had no clue what you were doing, right? And probably here a couple of people that are pretty new in the land space, right? Give us a little bit like what was going on in your head at that point, right? So you decided to do that. Like, what kept you going? I guess is my question. What brought that outside of you where you are today? Let's go that route for now.
Yeah, these are great points. So like Lygia teased a little bit, so back to that story in that time frame when as you said we got dumped, my initial reaction was to get back into the workforce, and so I worked my LinkedIn network. I had my resume updated. I was out there working headhunters, and I got quick traction. I have a big network, and so I had interviews with Amazon, with Tesla, with Apple, and it just after okay, every interview is not pleasant, but those experiences, I just had this nagging pit. Like, I mean, what was I doing? Like, I was already a little bit unhappy with what I had been doing. And now I'm most likely going to have to relocate to California or the Pacific Northwest. I don't know what kind of company culture I was stepping into. You're starting from scratch again almost, right? People don't know you. And so we fortunately took a pause and just said, let's step back and design what we want out of our lives. And so we looked at what are our values. Well, it was time together. I mean, fortunately, we have a beautiful relationship at a personal level and also professionally. And so it was more time together. We enjoy it. We like spending time together. It was travel. We both like traveling. Um, not for work, but regular adventure travel, experiential travel. We are both drawn to the mountains and nature and getting outside, and we wanted to be able to do all those things when we could still do them instead of, the traditional work, 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 and then, hey, when I'm 65, I'm going to retire and then I'll be able to do all those things and stuff, right? There's no guarantees in life. And so anchoring on that lifestyle really pulled us through the highs and lows and any type of obstacles. Um, I don't remember the exact dates, but very soon after we took the decision to go in all in on land, we took the decision to move from Texas to Colorado. We sold our house. Um, we physically downsized. I'm not sure we financially downsized because it was cost of living in Texas versus Colorado, but we rented a house for or a townhome for 3 or 4 years while we were ramping up our land business. And part of that was we didn't know exactly where we wanted to live, and so we were scouting, where would we put roots down. Then we quickly figured out that as business owners, and especially brand new business owners, you're not getting a loan or a mortgage from anybody. So it took us another couple years to get some traction because in the first year we were taking losses. We were like, okay, we're investing in these properties, we're investing in coaching, we're doing all this stuff, and so on paper we're at a operating at a negative, but those things really pulled us through. And then like Lygia said, once we got a taste of the lifestyle. Even to this day, we think about, it would, you do what you have to do in life, right? I mean, you make things happen, but it would be really hard to punch a clock and, work somebody else's agenda and do all those things. And so, those kind of things really drive us. And, to your other point about the structure, that's just me. Like I'm super structured by nature. I spent decades in operations and supply chain where we had goals and actions and scorecards and routines. And so all that carried over into our entrepreneurial life, and it's really benefited us. Like we still today, we every Monday we meet in the morning and we set out the goals and actions for the week. And then each day we
Mhm.
meet and just kind of check on how things are going, progressing, and so we still drive our businesses in a very structured manner, and that helps.
I would like to add one thing. I think we had early on an aha moment. I mentioned that at some point we just like, there's no turning back for us. We want to do this full time. And I heard something that really stuck with me. Like there's a difference between being interested and committed.
Mm,
And I was like, I had to ask myself, am I just interested in this business? Am I just interested to flip land, or I'm committed? And I think that once we took that decision that we are very committed to create a lifestyle that we designed and we want, then that was a game changer.
yeah, good point.
I love that. I love that line. I mean, when I hear you talking, and I love what you're saying is, I talk about that a lot here in this calls too. Like you have real purpose, right? You have like a real purpose that drives you emotionally, even through the downs, right? We all have the ups, right? But there are downs too. Like we run businesses here, right? I mean, you mentioned that in the beginning, like land business is not really real estate; it's a business, right? We are
Right.
buying and selling stuff. Right, this is what it is, and we go through cycles and all that. But this is what I really love, like what you said, guys, is you have a true purpose. Like getting out of corporate and then like, okay, what do we do? Hey, okay, let's try this, and you got infected. And how strong this purpose is, right? This is what you see today, right? I mean, a question for me personally is how's it working as spouses? Where are the boundaries? Like you said, like, hey, we're professionally and we're like personally, we have a beautiful relationship. Bring us a little bit in that journey and how powerful that is to work together with your spouse or to have your spouse aligned with the vision you have of the life you want to have together, right?
Yeah, I love this topic. It's one where we get the extremes from people. There's other people that we know that are spouses working together and they wouldn't have it any other way. And then there's other people that are like, how do you do that? I could never do that or whatever. And so, as I mentioned earlier, we had a really strong personal foundation, like just, adoring one another, um, really each other's biggest cheerleaders, in a sense that we're in this together. And I would say both personally and professionally, we have very complementary personalities. And so I'm super strategic. I like big picture, creating different visions and strategies and goals. Lygia's very tactical. She likes to just dig into action plans and make the calls, do the work, do all this stuff. And so we have a really good fit in that way. But from a personality perspective, this is my second marriage, and so I have a couple of data points. But I have a very different relationship with Lygia than I did in my first marriage, and part of that, if not most or all of that, is my evolution as a person and just maturation. But we're both in this together, and we don't really get our feelings hurt too much. But business is business, and because we both have this overriding uh, goal and
Mhm.
purpose, as you said, it really anchors us and grounds us in, okay, we're just getting this stuff done here. We got to figure out how to make this work. And there's not really a blaming, like, I don't think you're a blaming person much at all, period. But in our work life, for sure, there's not really this finger pointing. I mean, it's just, okay, something happens, we gotta find a solution. Thankfully in land, things are pretty simple. I mean, the I guess the only potential real struggles for us are just if deal flow dries up or whatever. I mean, we're in some markets where the margins start to thin out, and so it's like, okay, we gotta pivot and find a new market. But it's not like uh multifamily deals where there's a flood on the property or it's not cash flowing like it should be or what. I mean, there's just not that's why we really love land and we stay away from a lot of the other asset classes, is because I mean, we've done a few syndications and we've brought investors and raised capital, and I mean, it's just anxiety ridden if deals get into trouble. I mean, you have other people's money in your hands and you're doing all these things. And so that's kind of my take, I guess, on how we work
Yes,
together.
and we're not territorial at all. And I think that for Mike and I, soon we found out what we each like to do.
Hmm.
And Mike does few things that I don't like to do at all, and I do my own tasks and activities, and we kind of work together very nicely in that way.
Yeah, that's a real good point. I mean, when we started the land business, we quickly found space within the whole end-to-end processes. I'm analytical. I loved doing county and market research and even figuring out, I don't know, 10 years ago, sending out mailers wasn't as easy as it is today. And, there's different things that have to happen. Ligia was comfortable talking to people and I don't know if you were comfortable, but you at least would do it.
Yes.
And so we found a good division of labor. Then, when we diversified into multifamily, Lygia took a lot of the burden on the land business while I ramped up the multifamily syndication. Now that we're doing coaching, I'm taking a little more on the coaching, and Lygia's running. So we just naturally find these areas where we like to contribute, and if there's other areas, then we just figure out how we're going to get it done. But yeah, there's it's a good natural fit, and we're also at a stage in our life where kids, I love them, but they complicate things, right? I mean, they really add a dimension of complication in life that pulls a lot of relationships apart. This is a bit of, what my first relationship went through, and it just happens. It's kind of hard to get in that way. And so, as somewhat empty nesters, we also have less of a stress of other things, distractions. And so, yeah, a lot of things in our favor, but that's kind of our spousal working relationship.
I love that. I love that. I mean, we talked a lot about mindset right now, and I would stack on that, right? Like, what you're pretty clear about is where you're good at and where you're not good at, right? Like, and you complement each other. And what I see a lot in the land industry happening, we have like all this lonely wolf operators, right? Probably you're sitting
Mm.
alone home, right? You have a couple of VAs you're working with. And for example, for me, that was never an option, right? No, I don't work with my wife, but I have partners in almost every unit of the business, which
Yeah.
are like top-notch integrators because I'm not, right? And but they are not good in creating the vision and creating the big picture
Mm.
and all that. So when you're like still in your lonely wolf mentality, collaboration is king, right? Like find people you can do it with together because you can lean on each other. And second thing is that what I liked about what you said is you don't stand in each other's way, right? Like it's like, hey, you lift each other, and you don't need to work with your spouse, but like, hey, have them aligned, have them because I see that happening. Hey, you do your land business like in your little closet with the closed door, and like you get caught, right? Oh, are you already working again on this and this, right? This is what should not happen, right? You need to align on the goals together in life, and I think you're a really great example how you can do that. Let's pivot a little bit into land. I mean, you're almost OGs, right? Like you're nine years in the market right now. You have seen at least three, four, five cycles, right? Um, how was land back in 2016, and what has changed, let's say, in the past 12 months? What do you see?
Mhm. Yeah, this is a great topic, especially the future looking. But yeah, in 2016, it was, I would say, I mean, there was definitely less competition. Not that there's a whole lot of competition right now. I mean, I think if you're in the land business, you like to think, oh, there's a lot of competition. But if you pivot, if you get into any other real estate space, there's a lot more competition.
Mm.
But yeah, back in 2016, 17, um, the old or the initial formulas really worked. Like get your comps, send offers 35%. You could turn a lot of deals. If there's one thing that Lygia and I talk about in our startup and growth of the land business, it's that we were way too cautious
Mhm.
in those days. We turned down so many deals that today we would have taken every deal we could get our hands on, right? As long as it didn't have an oppressive financial burden on it. But we were looking at slope
Yeah.
and topography and all this stuff. And back then, I mean, we have never gotten stuck with a property and we've never lost money on a deal. And so it's just like, man, I wish we would have done things differently. But
Yes, and the deal flow was way bigger than back then.
yeah, you
We,
send out 1,000 mailers, you got that
yes.
3% take rate or
Yeah.
whatever. Whereas, over the years, that's gotten harder and harder to do unless you give up some amount of margin. And so it's just in that way, it's transitioned a little bit. I mean, you can still find good markets. You just have to be explorative and trying new markets. I would say our changes have mostly been personal. Like I've learned to relax a little more on
Yeah.
exploring new markets. Used to I would be super analytical. I would have all this matrix and checking all these things. And now it's like, okay, if there's a little bit of deal flow, let's go check it out and we'll go in. I mean, you spend $500 or something to go explore a market. And so I haven't seen a whole lot of personal changes. I mean, we haven't messed with the formula tremendously. We're able to do bigger deals. That's one way where we're trying to, you know, find a little more margin and escape some of the competition. But there's competition there too. It's not like it's a free market, just open, wide open spaces. But what I see happening is a couple of big factors. Like, okay, yes, competition. There is more. We bump it. I mean, we know a lot of people that are in the business, and so we recognize who's out where. Um, we talk to sellers, property owners that will say, "Oh, I've got half a dozen of these mailers. Somebody's offering X, somebody's offering Y. Make me your best offer." And we don't usually play in that game. I mean, for us, our differentiator in the business is really some degree of professionalism. I can't tell you how many deals that we score because we're the only person that responds, or we're the only person that can close. Like we'll tell people, hey, that's cool. I'm glad. I hope you get what you've been promised for your property. It's a great deal for you. If it doesn't work out, you have our contact information. And we get a lot of people that circle back that say, oh, this deal fell through, or, it didn't get to the closing table or whatever. They told us they were going to offer us X and then it turned out to be, something less than that or something. But, I see what's been nice to see is a lot of the service industry across the landscape popping up where it becomes more sophisticated. You have CRMs, you have services that like you're offering where you can do lead generation or you can do sales or there's all these ways. That's one of the things I really love about land and why we try to be very personalized in our coaching approach is that you can customize it to however you want to. You can leverage VAs, you can have partners, you can use automations. There's just so much. Like you can run it like a hands-off business if you want, or you can be 100% in it. There's just so many different ways to play it, but I definitely see that evolving. And a lot of people are saying you hear 2025 is the year of the AI agents, and I believe it. Like I see already both in text messaging and voice that AI agents are coming, and in the land business where, you can do acquisitions. Sales are maybe a little bit harder, but you can still do sales. In those ways. And that's going to bring a lot of the cost down. It's probably going to open up the competitive landscape a little bit more because more people, it's going to be more accessible and a little more, I mean, if I can just pay you to go out and bring me leads, we'll have to see how that happens. But that's what I see really changing. And I think the successful land business people are going to be the ones that are embracing technology and leveraging it. And then also just staying nimble to a degree, being able to find these pockets of markets where deal flow can still happen. But there's so much land out there and there's so many people, and it's really a space where with a little bit of effort, you can carve a great niche. I mean, we we I mean we were some of the original people in Costilla County, Colorado, and that's where we found like a ton of deals. And now, we still do deals in Costilla County. We still have people call us from offers that we sent out years back, but it's there's markets like that where it's like, okay, I'm this is probably not going to be too
Yeah.
fruitful. But there's still deals to be done even there. But you have to be a little bit exploratory
Yes.
in trying out.
And I agree on you, right? Like entrepreneurship is, from my personal perspective, also about like making brave decisions, like you did, right? Like getting out of corporate, going through these different
Yeah.
things, right? And I can just like talk for ourselves. Like everybody who is here on their calls frequently, I always talk about my 5 counties in Florida, right? I've
Mm,
done 5 deals there last year, so we pivoted, and I've made millions of dollars in that county,
right.
right? Or in that 5 counties around Tallahassee, and now it's not giving that reward anymore. So we started
Right.
exploring other markets, and this is the business where we are in, right? Like this is like what the land business, the classical wholesale business, right? Like it's about. It's like really always getting there. Where is the market? Where properties are turning, and that means every month test like 2 3 new counties until you
Yeah.
find another sweet spot, work that for a while, and then go back, right? This is like what I see right now, right? And I agree with you, like technology, I mean, it's a curse and a blessing in the same time, right? Let me see it like this, right? Because like you said, in the most competitive markets, it's you can differentiate yourself. And we ourselves are in competitive markets, but it's always like, how can you match that market? Because the great thing about the land business is you can pivot that in any way you want. This is what I always say, right? Like sometimes this doesn't work with your seller, but that works, right? Or this doesn't work, but that works, right? Like so, I think that's where you need to stay pretty open in 2025. Like, how do I pivot my business in a way that it works with my sellers and buyers? Because this is where we get our supply from and where we make our money off, right? I really like that. Um, when you would start today, right? Like 2025, right? With January 23rd, 2025, what would you do? Like you're like blank. You just like went into a coaching, and I mean like what coaches teach you today, right? This is how I see that. There are a lot of coaches who are like offering like pretty um, um, mediocre coaching programs where they teach you how the general technique works, and I think that's great, right? Like they teach you how to send mailers. This is what you learn there, how you calm, but um like when you would start over today, like what would you do? Like where would you, hey, you learned a little bit about the business already, you know how to send mailers, like, and you know how to answer the phone and comp it and send an offer, but what would you do to today to be successful?
I think it's not unlike what we did back then. We made some missteps early on in our journey. Just we didn't get a whole lot of guidance on picking a market, how to get into a market. We went with the adage in real estate of, do deals in your backyard, where you have boots on the ground or where you know. And in land, it's just not that way, right? I mean, you can buy land anywhere. And with all the tools available, you can assess the properties and you don't have to be physically there. So when we were living in Dallas at the time, we were ringing around the Dallas Fort Worth Metroplex, and we just had really we had either no luck or we got into some counties where everybody wanted to sell their property. And once we got into it, we understood that there were back taxes, there were back HOA dues, and these properties were all underwater and stuff. And so I would, for me, starting today, it would be really about market selection. And I would just go out, I would pick, 5 healthy markets. And by a healthy market, I mean, really what I look for is, does it fit my price criteria where I want to buy properties, right? And if the maximum I want to spend on a property is $40,000, then I know, okay, I want to look between 75 and 10 and 75,000 or something. And so within that range, are there some deals happening? And um, that for me is really the essence of it. It's because if you've got deal flow, the rest of it all works. I mean, the other thing I would say is we have never really used leverage in the financial sense in our business since we started. We've always self-funded our deals. We run our business in such a way that we make sure we're bringing cash into the business. And so even when we sell on terms, we very rarely do a deal if we're not getting our money back in at least a year, right? We target like 10 months. We want to have our principal back and then everything going. And so it keeps us somewhat in a healthy manner. This was probably one of my biggest misconceptions when we started the land business was the cash flow can be tricky if you're self-funding, right? If you're buying properties, you can get out too far in front of yourself and run dry on money. And so having a good partner, be it a private lender or a JV of sorts. I mean, there's a lot of people that love to do land deals because they're healthy deals. And so I would probably lean into some type of partnership or have a good partner that has good terms on lending just to make sure that you get jump started and you get a good pipeline on the cash flow side set up down the road. I don't know if you have any different thoughts on starting over. The sound of it sucks.
The sound of I definitely am a big fan of being part of a community of people that
Mm,
really do have done deals or are doing deals because you need that encouragement. So we have definitely joined back then a community,
yep,
but definitely it's one thing that I would not miss. I would be plugged in into a community when I would start. And coaching, education in whichever form people want to do. Either it doesn't have to be paid. There's so much groups like this, and there's so much content out there. But it's very important to be plugged in and educate yourself. And I would definitely lean on that in 2025.
yeah, Robin, you mentioned that earlier about the lone wolf thing, and certainly, when we signed up for a program, we had a good year immersed with other people. I'm not sure it was the healthiest of communities because there was a lot of it was kind of territorial in a
Yeah.
way, like, you didn't want to venture outside there. But what we quickly found once we got into the land business was there was no next level community. Like there was a lot of beginner communities where people could ask certain questions, but there really wasn't this advanced people that have been doing it for a bit. They have different questions. You have different things that you're chasing. And so today that's even still probably a gap for us in a way. But in a moment like this, when technology and processes are changing so quickly, that is super important to stay abreast of things because it can become a competitive advantage, right? If you find a lead generation method that really works for you, that's low cost or something. But that I would say is maybe our biggest. There's an opportunity there, I think, for more advanced type masterminds where um, we can talk about marketing tools that are working, that aren't working, different lead gen sources or things like that. But yeah, that's a good call out.
I like that. Yeah. I think like that was for me like when I came like I mean I was so happy like legit me like with Mario is here, right? I think Harald was here, right? Like we're the European section here in this call. I mean, for me, when I came to the US like 4 years ago, I was knowing literally nobody. And it's about the people you surround yourself with, right? Like, and this is what I did in the past couple of years. I consistently upgraded my network, let me call it like this, right? Like went to the people that are doing deals or did something, or I wanted to talk to them, right? And be open. Like this is what lifts you the most. And that was I'm in a mastermind and the family mastermind, and we had a keynote there from John Maxwell. Who knows John Maxwell? Like one of the top leadership coaches. Yeah, Gene knows them, of course, right? And he has lunch every month with somebody he admires and he wants to get in touch with and ask him like six simple questions, right? And like I was like, yeah, you need to do that, right? Because this is
Yeah.
what really like evaluates yourself and your horizon to get there where you want, right? Um, this is what I agree with you on that. Community is such a significant factor in that, and that you just like can get there where you want because you can't do it alone, right? Like I listened to a podcast episode of Trevor Mock. He's the CEO of Carrot, right? And he just like said exactly the same thing, right? At one point, collaboration, right? Just like elevates you, right? Like it can help you because you're maybe so good at lead generation and like getting contracts, but maybe you suck at sales or the other way around, right? So you need a partner. You have money, you don't have money, right? So when you don't have money to leverage your deals, you need to find the people. And one of my favorite books of all time is Who Not How from Dan Sullivan and
Yes.
Ben Hardy, right? So who
Yeah.
hasn't read that, guys, you need to read that book, right? It's just like really get the people on board you need to get there where you want. And that's what it really is. I mean, we're a little bit of the almost at the end. Tell us a little bit more about the coaching you offer. What I really like, it's one-on-one, right? And tell us a little bit more. What are you doing there? What is like, does your typical client look like? How can you help?
Yeah, well, like I mentioned, when we thought about starting up a program, there are programs out there. And so we thought, if we do this, how would we do something a little different? And what would we have wanted when we went back through it? And so we've played around with a couple of different formats over the last, I mean, we've only been doing this, I think, 18 months or maybe 24 months. Um, but today, so it feels like most of the people that come into our domain, and this is probably because of our network, but they're real estate focused in some way. They flip houses
Mhm.
or they have experience with syndications or other things. But there's a good fit already because some of the language is very similar, transactions that happen, all of that stuff. We have some broker agent type people that have a small office and they're able to leverage work that they're already doing. They're reaching out to, their marketing in print. They're doing other things. And so I would say if we have a client profile, it's leans heavily into that, but there's a few others. But our program itself is, yeah, it is largely one-on-one coaching. And so we have on-demand content that teaches people the nuts and bolts of land. We provide templates, contracts, sales scripts, everything we use and have developed. And so that's really the do-it-yourself type part of our content. Um, we just moved in December into Circle. I don't know if people are familiar with the Circle platform is like a community platform. And so it's really been nice. We can post a lot of great content and host events and things like that. And so we have a community aspect with people that are in our client base. And then, yeah, the one-on-one aspect of things. And so our process is very hands-on. When somebody signs up, we have an initial strategy session where we talk about what are your goals, right? Do you have debt you need to pay off today? Are you just trying to build monthly recurring revenue? Do you want to leave your W-2? Is this just a side hustle? All those kind of factors. We talk about how much time they're willing to put into the business, and what type of capital do they either want to use or have access to. And that combination of factors puts together a customized plan, right? We can say, okay, there are particular counties and markets that are more appropriate for your budget. Um, Somebody that has, less time, okay, well, there's ways to automate, delegate, find partners. We have a client right now who's subdividing, and so, we're helping him target larger properties, how to go about subdividing, a little more exotic strategies there. And so, anyway, we craft a customized plan-ish. I mean, the processes are the processes. It's just really about steering people into the right lane to do the processes. And then, yeah, we just spend our program's 12 months. Like when somebody buys our package, they have access to us for 12 months. But, you know, 4 to 6 months is really the meat of the coaching. So we're meeting once every week or once every couple weeks, where we're just stepping through the processes because as you and probably most of the people know, like you can learn the materials, but until like when we started, it was a fire hose. It was, oh my God, there's all this information. But until you actually are ready to send out mailers or to close a transaction, that's when you need the help. It's like, okay, let's sit down, let's look at this deal that came in and just validate, is this a good deal? Like, should you take this? Or how should you go about it? Same with marketing channels. It's the weirdest thing, but we see so many people that, like, some people have just amazing success in one channel, other people can't get a deal to close, and other people in a different channel. And so it's, you have to play around a little bit, and that's where we really enjoy just working with people directly. But because of that, we keep our program pretty small. Like I'm not taking 20 people at a time because I'm not wanting to spend, 20 or 40 hours a week on coaching calls. It's just not our lifestyle. So we keep, a smaller number of clients. And yeah, I mean, it's super rewarding so far. I mean, we get a little anxiety, I think, every time we bring on a new client and think, okay, is the formula going to continue to work? And it continues to work. So it's uh it's a good thing
And
there.
if not, you will make it work, like how I learned to know you guys, right?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I mean, we're gonna figure it out. It just may take a bit. And then, going forward, I don't know. There seems to be a lot of people out there that want to do a little more exotic strategies, right? They want to subdivide. They want to horizontally develop, right? Rough in some roads or sewage or different things. I don't know that to me, I mean, I find myself attracted to those prospects every now and again, but the simplicity of just the flipping model is it's kind of elegantly simple. And all those things take extra time, extra cost and different things. I mean, there's a place, but I don't know if we'll expand too much into that in personally or in the coaching business, but I definitely think that the landscape starts to change. We definitely want to stay on top of it. And to Lygia's point, I mean, our mindset both is a rising tide lifts all boats. I mean, I think when we're a community and we work together, there's enough room for everybody. We came out of our coaching program and we were blackballed because I don't remember what even I think I challenged a thought or something, and it was like we joined a mastermind, and we all got notices like cease and desist, whatever. We're like, we're in a fucking mastermind. What are you talking about? And so, I mean, I just it's not my philosophy, and so we really want to build a larger community and lift each other up and draw from that.
I love that. I love that. Mike Ligia, thank you so much for sharing all of this, right? I think there
Yeah,
were so much valuable insight, and I love that we talked about both, right? Like the mindset and the mindset part, because I know that's like one of your
I do
biggest
love
things
it.
too,
Yeah,
like mine,
yeah.
right? We could talk about that for forever, but we also talked about lamp flipping today. And guys, if you need some support and to resonate, I dropped the link here from the coaching program. Thank you so much for being on with us today. And at this point, I open it up for Q&A, guys. You have Mike and Lygia here. If you have any questions, just like raise your hand, unmute yourself, put something in the chat. You have the chance now to connect with them one-on-one like you will probably never have again, right?
I just dropped another link in there. Like I put a little landing page together for anybody that wants to just stay connected. like I said, we plan on we are trying each month or two to explore new technology. So I know you're good friends with AJ. We're going to test out her lead generation service. We've done some AI other platforms, and so I don't know what this will evolve into, whether it's a community workshops, a newsletter, or something. But if anybody, there's a little form if anybody wants to fill out just to stay connected. There's a an email form if you want to drop your email. Won't spam you or anything if you want, but there's also other information in terms of their on the website in general if people want to explore other things. But our contact information is somewhere on there, I think, and you schedule a call if you want to schedule a call and stuff. But that's probably a good jumping off point for anybody that just wants to stay connected.
I love that. I love that. And I think you guys are on Facebook too, right? So, guys, what can we do? Are there any questions for Lygia and Mike you guys have? Dun, 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 dun. It's always like who's brave, right? Who wants to ask something?
Clayton the Bay. Yeah, I mean, we're happy, like I said, to I think our email, I think there's another landing page called flippingdirt.us/freedom that I usually send podcast listeners to, and it has our emails, our business phone. I think on our website there's a schedule a call button, but yeah, always happy to talk land, even if it's not a formal coaching agreement or arrangement. Certainly happy to share any insights or bounce ideas off of things. Like I said, we like the power of community and the rising tide concept, and yeah, I mean there's enough to go around without us having to fight each other for all this stuff. So um, I've seen land transform so many lives, be it a side hustle or a full time, that it's just, I don't know, we love working with people and evangelizing
Yes.
all of that because it's been really great for us.
I love that. I love that. I mean, like there are certain things, especially this year, and I love that we touched that topic too. Market selection is probably the most important thing in these days, right? Like really hunt deals down. We make, by the way, on Tuesday in our comms call a session around market selection. So be there Tuesday morning, 8:30 a.m. CST. You find all the login details, everything on the landpilot.com, because I think that's the most important part, right? And it came up in our comms call today. How do you select markets? How do you do that, right? And it depends. And you touched on that, right? What is your goal? What do you have in mind? Where do you want to be, right? Because you can do deals in all kind of forms, right? I know people that just do kind of owner financing strategies. I know people that do millions of dollars. And to be honest, like last year when I've seen the business changing, and what I strategically did is, and this is where I can encourage everything. I went out and like went to the top dogs, right? And just like, look, what are they doing? Talk with them. Hey, what is your strategy? How do you do like I don't know, 10 million, $15 million in sales with the wholesaling business. What are your strategies? What are you following, right?
Yeah.
And you learn so much, and everybody opens the playbooks, right? Like this is what I love about the land community. So utilize that, and then you will be great. When there are no questions, guys, let's close it off early today. I think say thank you again for staying on, for spending some time with us. And Gene, do you have any questions? You just
I
unmuted
know I
yourself
don't. I was
now.
just going to say thanks so much and God bless.
Yeah, thank you so much for being on with us. And yeah, talk to you soon, guys. See you next week. Veroska, who's coming next week? We have a good guest next week too, right?
Yeah, we have Larry Peddington.
Yeah, Larry Pendleton next week, guys. Taxes and how you optimize them as a real estate investor, right? Like I got asked so much times, like, what are you doing with Texas? We will have a licensed CPA on next week. He has a real estate focus. He knows everything about land. He's a land investor. He's a node investor. He's just great. So bring that. Come next week, 5 p.m. EST. Thank you so much again for joining us, and see everybody latest next week or Tuesday on the comms call, 8:30 a.m. CST, thelandpilot.com. Check it out there. And until then, have a great weekend, guys, and talk to you soon.
Thanks,
God
Robin.
bless.
Thanks,
Bye bye.
everybody.
You.